What if I told you that Napoleon Hill discovered the real neurological secret that separates millionaires from chronic procrastinators, 50 years before science discovered that dopamine even existed, and that you can apply this secret in just 25 minutes? What you're about to discover are the 5 exact steps to create mental immunity against procrastination, a system validated by 25,000 people that in 25 minutes will transform you from procrastinator into an action machine. A method that transformed failures into millionaires, dreamers into achievers, and chronic procrastinators into action machines. But here's what impresses me most. While the self-help industry continues selling superficial solutions, Hill had already cracked the code of the human mind in 1937. And now, finally, modern neuroscience is proving he was right all along. Have you ever wondered why some people can act immediately while others become paralyzed by analysis? Why certain individuals transform ideas into reality while others only dream? The answer isn't in willpower. It's in understanding how your brain actually works. In the next 25 minutes, you're going to discover the 5 exact steps that Hill developed to create what he called mental immunity against procrastination. More importantly, you'll understand why these methods work from a modern neuroscience perspective. Let's start with Hill's first revolutionary discovery: what really happens in your brain when you procrastinate, explained decades before modern neuroscience existed. Think about it. Have you ever had that experience when you're about to start an important task and suddenly your mind comes up with 1,000 excuses? I need to check my email first. I'll just organize my desk. Maybe I should research a bit more. This is literally your primitive mind sabotaging your evolved mind. Intro end. Intro end. Procrastination is a battle between 2 parts of your brain: the primitive limbic system, which seeks immediate pleasure, versus the modern prefrontal cortex, which plans long-term actions. A 2024 study analyzed over 700 students across multiple universities and confirmed exactly what Hill intuited. Procrastination happens when the limbic system hijacks the decision-making process. It's literally a conflict between the primitive mind and the evolved mind. After studying more than 25,000 cases over 20 years, Hill realized that great achievers had developed what he called definitive mental control, the ability to override rational mind over primitive impulses. Hill witnessed this happening thousands of times in his studies. But wait, this becomes even more impressive when you realize that. Now that we understand both the problem and Hill's revolutionary discovery about mental control, you must be wondering, how exactly do we apply this in practice? The answer lies in the first of the 5 steps that Hill developed. First, definitive purpose as a procrastination destroyer. Hill discovered something revolutionary when analyzing his 25,000 cases. Every person who overcame chronic procrastination had one characteristic in common: a major definite purpose that was written, specific, and emotionally charged. We're not talking about vague goals like "I want to be successful" or "I want to be rich." We're talking about a crystal clear statement of what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, and why it's absolutely critical to your life. Why does this work neurologically? When you write down a definite purpose, you activate your brain's reticular activating system. Imagine an intelligent filter that highlights only what's important to you. It's like when you decide to buy a red car and suddenly see red cars everywhere. It's like when you decide to buy a red car and suddenly see red cars everywhere. They were always there, but now your brain notices them because they've become relevant. Your brain literally starts seeking opportunities and resources related to your goal. Thomas Edison had a definite purpose: to create 1,000 inventions that would improve human life. Henry Ford, to produce affordable cars for the masses. Andrew Carnegie, to become the richest man in America and then donate his entire fortune. What is your definite purpose? Have you written it down? Is it specific, measurable, and does it have a deadline? Because without this, you're sailing without a compass in an ocean of distractions. Pause this video right now and write one sentence about what you really want to achieve. Hill's study of 25,000 people showed that this single action separates winners from everyone else. And when you do this, something fascinating happens in your brain. Second, the advantage of decision speed. Hill made a disturbing discovery. The most expensive word in the English language isn't what you think, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll start the diet. Tomorrow, I'll start the project. Tomorrow, I'll make that important decision. Hill realized that tomorrow is the graveyard of dreams. Here's what will shock you about this discovery. The average person makes over 35,000 decisions per day, but avoids making the 3 or 4 decisions that would actually change their life. Why? Because these are the decisions that scare us. They're the ones with real consequences. The great achievers he studied had a pattern. They made decisions quickly and changed them slowly. Henry Ford decided in a matter of hours to produce cars for the masses when everyone said it was impossible. He maintained that decision for decades despite all the resistance. Most people would have thought better of it and given up at the first difficulty. Neuroscience explains why. The longer you take to make a decision, the more opportunities you give the limbic system to create objections and fears. Excessive analysis is the playground of procrastination. Hill developed what he called the 24-hour rule. If a decision can be made with available information, make it within 24 hours. If you need more information, define exactly what information you need and set a maximum deadline to obtain it. Before we continue, think of one decision you've been putting off. Apply Hill's 24-hour rule now. Decide within 24 hours, then implement changes gradually. Now you must be wondering, how do I apply this in practice? The answer will surprise you. You already have your clear purpose and learn to make decisions quickly. But how do we ensure that these decisions transform into consistent actions? That's where the third element of Hill's system comes in. Third, destroying the 21-day myth. Prepare yourself because what I'm about to reveal will destroy everything you believe about habits. The self-help industry has been lying about habit formation for decades. Have you ever heard that it takes 21 days to form a habit? It's a lie that's sabotaging your efforts. Think about it this way. Edison tried over 10,000 experiments for the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he replied, "I have not failed. I've found 10,000 ways that don't work." A 2024 meta-analysis revealed the truth. Real habits take 18 to 254 days, with an average of 66 days. Hill didn't know these numbers, but he understood the principle: concentrated persistence, maintaining an action until it becomes automatic, regardless of time. The difference between achievers and procrastinators isn't the speed of habit formation. It's the willingness to persist beyond the point where most people give up. Your primitive mind will tell you to stop after a few days. It will invent excuses, create justifications, suggest better methods. Hill taught that this internal resistance is actually a sign that you're on the right path. He developed what he called the morning action protocol. Every morning, before any other activity, execute one specific action related to your major purpose, no matter how small. Consistency beats intensity. Let me tell you a story that Hill documented. A businessman tried to create the habit of exercising. After 30 days with no results, he was ready to give up. "The books say 21 days, he complained. The man continued. At 127 days, he finally realized that getting out of bed to exercise had become automatic. 2 years later, this habit led him to transform his entire morning routine and eventually his company. You're wondering how to ensure this becomes automatic? What I'm about to show you will change your perspective on initiative forever. But persistence alone isn't enough. Hill discovered that there's a catalyst that dramatically accelerates the formation of productive habits. Fourth, personal initiative activation protocol. Hill discovered something fascinating about initiative. It's contagious. but procrastination is too. He observed that people with initiative naturally attract opportunities, resources, and other people with initiative. Procrastinators attract problems, scarcity, and other procrastinators. It's an inflexible social law. But here's the revolutionary insight: you can train your initiative like a muscle. Hill developed what he called the unsolicited action protocol. Every day, execute one action related to your purpose that nobody asked you to do. Don't wait for instructions. Don't ask for permission. Don't seek approval. Simply act. Carnegie applied this constantly. When he was just a telegraph operator, he began studying the company's operations in his spare time. Nobody asked, nobody paid for it. But when an opportunity arose, he was the only person prepared. Ford did the same thing. Before founding his company, he experimented with engines in his backyard during the early morning hours. His wife complained about the noise. The neighbors thought he was crazy, but he continued because he understood that initiative is a habit that develops through practice. Neurologically, each initiative action strengthens the neural circuits of the prefrontal cortex. You literally train your brain to override action over hesitation. And now comes the transformation you've been waiting for: how to bring all of this together into a system that works. Now you have 4 powerful tools: definite purpose, decision speed, concentrated persistence, and personal initiative. But here's what impresses me most about this entire system. Modern science has finally been able to explain why each of these strategies works. Fifth, ancient wisdom meets modern brain science. Here's what impresses me most about Napoleon Hill. Scientists are proving that a philosopher from 1937 understood the brain better than most neuroscientists in 2024. Think of this as training a muscle. Every time you choose Netflix instead of working on your project, you're strengthening the procrastination muscle. Every time you act immediately when something needs to be done, you strengthen the initiative muscle. Hill understood that your mind is like a gym. You're always training something, whether you realize it or not. Research on neuroplasticity confirms exactly this. Your brain is literally moldable. Every thought, every decision, every action creates specific neural pathways. When you practice procrastination, you strengthen the circuits of hesitation. When you practice immediate action, you strengthen the circuits of initiative. There's no neutrality. You're constantly training your brain in one direction or another. Hill intuited this when he developed what he called mental discipline exercises. He taught specific techniques for monitoring and redirecting thought patterns, decades before science discovered metacognition. A 2023 study at Stanford University proved that people who practice conscious monitoring of mental patterns increase their ability to execute planned actions by 73%. Hill was decades ahead. But Hill's deepest insight was about what he called time consciousness. He realized that procrastinators live in distorted time, always believing they'll have more time later. Achievers live in what Hill called expanded present time, a sharp awareness that the only moment that exists for action is now. The past is information. The future is planning, but action can only happen in the present. Modern neuroscience calls this executive temporal consciousness, the ability of the prefrontal cortex to process time realistically and act accordingly. Now comes the part that will transform everything: how to integrate these discoveries into a system that works in the real world. Now that you understand both Hill's wisdom and the science behind it, the moment has come to transform knowledge into action. Let's consolidate everything into a system you can start using immediately. Now let's bring everything together into a system you can use right away. There are just 3 main protocols, simple enough to remember, powerful enough to transform. First, neural pattern monitoring. Every morning, before any activity, ask yourself this question: what mental patterns will I reinforce today, initiative or hesitation? Second, dopamine training protocols. Your brain seeks immediate rewards. Give immediate rewards for productive actions. Celebrate every small victory. This trains your limbic system to associate pleasure with productivity. Third, temporal awareness framework. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, I'll do it later, stop and ask, why not now? What extra information do I need that will only be available later? Usually the answer is none. Done. 3 protocols. Complete system. Now you have everything Hill took 20 years to discover, condensed into less than 5 minutes of explanation. Hill discovered that achievers treat time as the scarcest resource. Procrastinators treat time as if it were infinite. Reality is closer to the achiever's perspective. But knowledge without action is useless. What I'm going to give you now is the exact protocol Hill used to transform 25,000 lives. Here is your 7-point implementation protocol. First, write your major definitive purpose. A clear, specific statement with a deadline and emotional reason. Second, implement the 24-hour rule. Every decision that can be made with available information must be made within 24 hours. Third, establish your morning action protocol, a specific action related to your purpose, executed before any other activity. Fourth, practice dopamine training. Reward yourself immediately after productive actions to train your reward system. Fifth, develop time awareness. Question every later with why not now? Sixth, execute daily personal initiative, an unsolicited action related to your purpose. Seventh, monitor neural patterns. Constant awareness of the circuits you're strengthening. These are the exact same 5 protocols that transformed chronic procrastinators into action machines. The definite purpose that directs all your mental energy, the 24-hour rule that eliminates analysis paralysis, the persistence protocol that creates unbreakable habits, the personal initiative that magnetically attracts opportunities, and the time consciousness that forever destroys the tomorrow addiction. You now possess the complete system that took Hill 20 years to develop and 25,000 cases to validate. Start with just one action from your definite purpose today. Hill proved through 25,000 cases that action creates momentum. Momentum creates more action, and consistent action creates extraordinary results. But Hill discovered something crucial. Knowledge without implementation is just intellectual entertainment. To ensure you completely master every nuance of these protocols, including the advanced techniques he reserved only for his most committed students, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. In the upcoming videos, I'll reveal the secret strategies Hill kept for decades, how to reprogram your brain's reward system in 72 hours, the exact protocol Carnegie used for million-dollar decisions, and the mental discipline technique Ford applied against any internal resistance. Napoleon Hill said something that changed everything. Initiative is contagious, but procrastination is too. At this very moment, you're choosing which virus you'll spread in your life. Your next action determines everything. Choose right now one of the 7 protocol actions and execute it within the next 60 minutes. Hill proved through 25,000 cases. The difference between dreamers and achievers lies in the speed of the first action. There's no perfect moment to begin. There's only this moment. Your future self is waiting for your decision.